if you actually look at the original report from Juniper and Payments, that they actually predicted that the voice commerce by 2023 was going to be 3 times this number. And the reason they've actually predicted a lower number is because people still don't trust voice commerce. So the fact that commerce is not advancing at the rate many people initially thought to advance fundamentally is because identity, security, and trust are not strong on these voice platforms. Why does this matter, right? Like, why can't we all, fundamentally believe that they're trustworthy and just go ahead and do our business? This is something that a lot of folks, when they're surveyed, if you look at this was a great survey by PwC, where 46% of people that they surveyed said that they don't trust their voice assistants to correctly interpret and process my order. And another 45% said, I don't trust or feel comfortable sending payment through my voice assistant. And for the people who can see this slide, I wanted to pull out 2 quotes from this PwC report. One that talks about the fact that I'm super worried that it can respond to anyone's voice and not just my voice. And then the second one, which is a more specific example of raking up $1,500 playing a mobile game. How do I make sure that isn't happening, that one of my kids isn't overcharging on my smart homes or on my smart speakers? And I actually have a colleague of mine whose kids actually ordered a whole bunch of mineral water that they like on an Amazon Alexa, and this was not authorized by the dad. So, these are things which fundamentally make a lot of this untrustworthy, but this is only the beginning of this entire space. A lot of you folks are aware of the rise of deepfakes in general. And there's a lot of deep fakes in the audio world as well. Deep fakes or synthetic audio is something that's super important to voice. It's how the Google Homes and the Alexas actually speak to you, right? Like they convert, what is text into speech. So the TTS engine, and that speech is very, very real sounding. And it gives us a great experience with a lot of these platforms, but that's being misused as well. The fact that you could create one particular version of that voice means you can create any voice. It has great uses. The last one is a extremely heartwarming article about Val Kilmer not feeling like himself once he lost his voice due to throat cancer, but the fact that once they were able to create a synthetic version of his voice, he felt like he got his identity back. So there are definitely very important and very good reasons to synthesize voice. But if you look, that same thing has already started happening in massive scale to perform fraud. The middle article is one where a deep fake was actually used to steal $35 million in a business email compromise attack. Even though it's called a business email compromise, it was actually a voice call that created that. And then more interestingly, similarly, Anthony Bourdain, there was I don't know how many of you folks saw the Roadrunner documentary. Among the 2-hour documentary, there was 50 seconds of Anthony Bourdain that was deepfaked. And if you read this article, the journalist actually used Pindrop's deepfake detection engine to uncover those 50 seconds of audio. And since then, they've been verified on Reddit posts and things like that. But fundamentally, the fact that deepfakes are here and they fundamentally can use your voice against you. So if the only thing that you're doing is simple voice identity, that's not going to be good enough, because deepfakes can beat a very simple voice identity recognition engine. So what is it that makes voice identity and voice security really hard, right? Like there's 3 fundamental things. One is the fact that you speak from a variety of different places. You can speak from a small room. You can speak from a big hall, as we are in the Voice Summit conference right now. If we're in a big hall, the acoustics of that hall change make your voice sound very different. There's also the fact that you age, you have coughs, you have colds. So you as human are very, very malleable, and your voice exhibits those characteristics as well. So how do you keep track of people aging? How do you keep track of someone's voice as things change in their voice? And then the the third thing is the fact that I alluded to, the fact that there are active adversaries, and these active adversaries can synthesize voice. And so creating something, when you create a system that actually identifies voice and allows you to do voice commerce, allows you to do payments, allows you to pull up your healthcare records and things like that, you need to make sure you're not only robust in your ability to identify the people constantly, because the worst thing you want is you're speaking to the system and it has no clue who's talking. And even after you've enrolled your voice, or you've trained the system on your voice, it misses your voice because it has run into you speaking slightly further away from the speaker than you normally have. So you want a system that's very, very robust and is able to handle all the vagaries of the acoustics of the environment, as well as the changes in your voice, but at the same time isn't lenient enough that it lets an active adversary through. So, this is a slide that talks a little bit about all the different kinds of noise conditions that you need to consider. I'm not going to play this in the interest of time. I actually have another video that I'd really like to get to. But in terms of the fact that you have a variety of noises that you need to consider. So you could have things like sirens going off, and the siren going off is playing in the background. So maybe that's not as bad. You could have things like your dogs barking and shouting very, very close to where you're actually speaking. You could have things that are really, really complicated to eliminate, like noise. And the first two categories of noise are fundamentally things that are very simple. They're known as more as linear noise, where you are able to model that noise in using a linear system. But things like music are non-linear noise because they change the amplitude of the sound level as well as the frequency changes over time. And so being able to eliminate things like that make it really, really hard. So how do you eliminate all of this noise in order to be able to identify the source of the voice, even when they're speaking, let's say from a crowded airport? How do you do that, right? Because if they're speaking to their smartphone and saying, hey, purchase this, they don't want to be able to say, oh my God, it didn't purchase me because it was just too noisy an environment. Or when I was actually saying something important, my dog barked at exactly the same time, right? You want to be able for the system to be able to handle all of these situations very, very gracefully. And so that's one big challenge. If people are interested, we can definitely show you how Pindrop actually, from a programmatic way, just through machine learning, is automatically able to eliminate any kind of noise, even unheard of noises, just because of the way we're building this audio pipeline. The second thing that makes this voice identity and security hard is aging, right? And we did this landmark study on President Obama's voice and how it aged over time. And fundamentally, that makes it really, really hard. Obama is an example of extreme aging. You can see it on his face. But the graph that you're seeing is actually a voice recognition system, one of the state-of-the-art voice recognition system that after the first couple of years started failing. So this is actually an exponential scale. So if you see a match, the match on the top is essentially a 70% match. But since 2012, that match drops to a 20% match. So it would never recognize Obama as he aged after his first couple of years. Most people age every 8 months. And so you have to have a system that understands this, understands the notion of aging, because aging, again, is a deeply human concept. And it's something, right? Like when you listen to your parents, your mom or your dad, even after many years, and they pick up the phone and call you, you're not saying, is that you, mom? You're able to very quickly understand it's your mom, even if she's aged over those period in time, right? And so it's super important for the systems to be robust to things like aging and things like that. And then finally, the notion of deep fakes, right? And these deep fakes become more and more prevalent, both in the audio and the video domain. What I'm actually going to show you is an example of this deep fake that actually happened on a Zoom conference. So this is a Zoom bomb where apparently Elon Musk joined this particular conference. You can see the surprise and reaction, especially look at how wide the eyes of the participants go, because they just are thinking that Elon Musk just joined their conference. And on the system, we've overlaid Pindrop's scores. So if you looked at the different scores are saying, okay, is this really Elon Musk's voice? Is this really Elon Musk's face? Is Elon Musk's face spoofed, right? And essentially at Pindrop, we figured out to crack this problem by creating two deep learning networks. One that's hopelessly optimistic and is always trying to see, is this a face I know? Is this a voice that I know? And one that's extremely paranoid and is constantly trying to see, I don't care whose face it is, whose voice it is this synthesized? Is this deep faked? Or is this replayed? And so those two systems are constantly at tussle, just like in your mind. You're always in love until you've had your first heartbreak. At that point in time, the next time you use that experience to realize, oh, is something weird happening in this relationship? But that's how we grow as humans. It's the same thing happening within the Pindrop systems. You have two deep learning systems, one extremely optimistic, one extremely paranoid, and you're going to see all the scores of that system as this video plays out. So let me actually show that.
1 second.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Are you Elon Musk?
Yes. Looks like I got into the wrong conference in Zoom. How are you doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I'm nice.
This
Thank
is
you.
amazing.
Nice hair color, by the way.
Thank you.
It's Elon.
Well, then have a nice day. Bye.
Have a
Have a
song.
nice day.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Yeah. And so, you can see the system can, depending upon the amount of audio and video, decide, okay, you know what? The face looks like Elon Musk, but it's clearly deep fake. The voice isn't even Elon Musk. It's just a random voice. Therefore, it fails the first check of it being even Elon Musk's voice. But in situations where you actually have either Jordan Peele trying to impersonate Obama or a deep fake of President Obama, you can still detect. That system would then put forward the fact that this was a deep fake audio in those situations. So what happens if you actually do this right? And this is where it's super interesting, right? Like if you get voice identity, voice security, and trust right, you can create magical experiences. And to give you some examples of these magical experiences, this is a partnership that we have with TiVo, where fundamentally you can walk up to a TiVo controlled TV and you can say, hey, what should I watch? And because it knows you, and let's say in my case, right, I like sci-fi, I like Star Wars. It actually says, rather than show you a carousel that's available for everyone, I'm going to show you a set of titles that's specific to you. Because you like Star Wars and sci-fi, I'm going to pull up Midnight Sky from Netflix, and I'm going to pull up Mandalorian from Disney Plus and show them all to you so you can pick what you want. And when my 3-year-old son turning 4 shows up and says, what should I watch? He's saying exactly the same thing. So the ASR, the automatic speaker recognition, or the automatic speech recognition is exactly the same. They're using the exact same phrase, but you can completely customize the carousel to say, okay, now show him some Pixar content. And this is truly amazing. These TVs, I have one of these TVs equipped in my house. The experience is very, very different because I never have to now select one of those ugly boxes that tells me it's me or my wife or it is my son. You can just say, what should I watch? And it almost immediately takes you to what you like watching. And then when I say things like continue watching, it knows, oh, your last title that you watched was Midnight Sky on Netflix, no matter who's logged in, what's logged in, and goes directly there. You can also do things like parental control because of our age algorithm. So we're able to detect not just the voice, but things like age. And these are some of the cool things. And you can also change the carousel based on emotions. The carousel when you're happy and your VJ is very different than the carousel when you're sad and you're the same person. So there's a lot of great, wonderful experiences that get created and a fundamental new way of thinking by virtue of some of these experiences. Another example is in the auto space. This is a eye chart, but I just wanted to show you, some real life examples. In this particular case, this is where noise comes in crazy environments. Here, this particular auto manufacturer looked at 55,000 different occurrences, evaluated across all kinds of languages, all kinds of environments, in the city, in the highway, with different kinds of gender, with different amounts of sleep level, different amounts of fatigue level. But this is important, right? Like, you need systems that are robust to all of these situations, because there are a lot of voice recognition vendors that are, or voice recognition systems that are good in the happy path, right? Like, nothing's happened. You're speaking to the same system from the same distance without using a mask, for example, it works. But let's say tomorrow you're speaking a little far off, you're wearing a N95 mask with 3-ply, and the system doesn't recognize you anymore. Those lead to terrible experiences for your customers. And that's where being able to provide voice identity and voice security as a first order primitive makes things really, really wonderful. And then this is finally a smartphone app. In this particular case, one, it's providing for completely eliminating passwords. So anytime you're locked out, you can use your voice to then unlock the app. But then this app is also going forward and using voice to secure the most complicated transactions. Like, for example, when you're accessing your crypto wallet and transferring it over to someone else, when you look at, for example, some of the thefts that have happened in crypto wallet. I recently saw a $150 million heist on one of these wallets. So in each of these situations, being able to securely transfer things that you have to other people requires a higher level of security, and your voice affords that. And then finally, this particular customer is actually taking this a completely large step, right? Like, these two things are great basic uses of identity, and they're fundamentally replacing one kind of identity, which is passwords, with another kind of identity. But the third one is a truly customer experience moment where you're fundamentally saying, hey, because I'm doing stock trades and things like that, if I just say buy 30 shares of Cisco, I can not only unlock the phone, I can unlock the app and perform the transaction all in one fell swoop. I don't need three different things. I don't need to use my face to unlock my phone. I then don't need a password to unlock the app. And then I don't need to futz around a set of menu items to get to this transfer item. I can do all of that in one shot, and that is what creates a truly magical experience. And what we are particularly interested is a truly magical experience that spans across all of this, right? When you're in your house, talking to your TV, watching something which is on the right, it knows who you are and gives you experiences that are relevant to you. When you go into your car, it knows it's who you are, opens the trunk, opens the door, does all of those things through the power of your voice. When you go into a remote new place and you're opening the hotel locks with your voice and you finally get to a new TV, you're not trying to log into Netflix, Disney, and all of these systems. Your voice just unlocks all of that. As long as you've provided access, you have complete visibility, you have complete control, but you're then providing that, providing your voice to unlock these systems. And once you've left, you don't have to forget to log off. because you're no longer there, your voice no longer controls those systems. So that's a truly magical experience, one where voice is truly allowed to be completely frictionless in the way you access a whole bunch of systems. So we're excited about that world. We're building towards that world. We'd love other people to come join us, as well as other people to tell us ways in which this paradigm breaks, because those are the places that we'd like to invest in.